Good day, everyone. I would like to welcome all of our viewers watching online here in the Philippines and worldwide. Welcome to the Public Sector Productivity Webisodes. I'm Gerard Calambro and I will be your moderator for today. To start, let us give a warm shout out to some of our attendees. I can see we are joined today by agencies such as the Office of the Ombudsman, the Armed Forces of the Philippines Procurement Service, the Philippine Ports Authority, the Lung Center of the Philippines, the Philippine National Police, the Department of the Interior and Local Government, the Philippine Statistics Authority in Leyte, the Department of Health, the Tarlac Agricultural University, and the Department of Social Welfare and Development. And to the ones I haven't mentioned, thank you for joining us today and welcome to our episode. Now, we at the Development Academy of the Philippines play a crucial role in nation building by number one, generating pioneering ideas, two, promoting partnerships, and three, capacitating stakeholders. And this is why we are hosting these webinars. We want you to get new ideas, we want you to connect with people, and we want to help you do better. With that being said, it is my pleasure to introduce today's expert. He is a certified QMS lead auditor and a Lean Six Sigma practitioner. His current and past activities include QMS consultancy engagements from government and private companies. He is also a regular resource person here at the Development Academy of the Philippines, assisting several clients in ISO. He is also an industrial engineer who obtained his master's degree at the University of the Philippines Diliman, and he is also a professor at the University of Santo Tomas Department of Industrial Engineering and the UST Graduate School. He is also the founder and general manager of Dunong Circle Training and Consultancy Services. He is also an extraordinary lay minister serving the UST Campus Ministry and an active member of Pathways, a Catholic charismatic group under the Digaya ng Panginoon. Let us all welcome Engineer Charlie A. Marquez. Good afternoon, Sir Charlie, and the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Gerard, and to everyone who are present here today. So the title of my talk today is Improving Public Sector Productivity Through Lean Management. What is lean? Lean management is a management philosophy based on the Toyota production system. It was started by the famous Japanese car manufacturer, Toyota. Maybe some of you are using or prefer Toyota as your vehicle. So it really started there, this management philosophy. The objective of lean management is to eliminate everything that does not add value in the customer's eyes. When we say lean, the objective is simply eliminating everything that does not add value in the customer's eyes. So it looks so simple, but it's really simple. It's nothing complicated but that. It's just that it is in the customer's eyes. So meaning who defines quality is the customer, not us as service providers. So for those who have already started their ISO 9001 journey, you are familiar with customer's eyes. When we say customers, this is in your clause 4.2. The needs and expectations of your interested parties. So in ISO, the customers are referred to as your interested parties. So what is valuable to them? What is not valuable to them? You need to define that in your clause 4.2. Okay, so similar to lean management, I'm just trying to tie this up with your ISO 9000 journey because I know that most government agencies, if not all at this time, are already implementing ISO 9001. There are aspects where you can already apply lean in your journey to ISO 9000 certification. Our objective is to eliminate, but if you cannot eliminate, at least reduce all the wastes in your processes. Later on, I will be discussing what are the different types of wastes in our workplace. Now, the focus or the scope of lean is actually in your value stream or in your work units. Taking, for example, the process in securing a business permit in your LGU. Where is the value stream there? The value stream, if you try to map that out, is from the process where the customer applies or submits the application for a business permit up to the time that you, as a service provider, releases the business permit to the applicant. So somewhere in between, there are so many steps that the applicant needs to follow. And that is what you call your value stream. There are different tools that you use, but what is most important tool that you use there is what we call the value stream mapping. Now, the focus of lean is improving the process performance. Like ISO 9000, when auditors audit, they audit the process, not the people, not the product. It is what you call a process-based audit. Why? Because we believe that what comes out of an excellent process is an excellent product or excellent service. So that is now our focus, improving the performance of the process. And you must have a clear view of the end state. What is the ideal state that we want? If we are trying to provide service to our clients, to our citizens, what is the ideal situation? Charlie, where can we find this? How do we define this? One, you already identified that, like I said, in clause 4.2. You try to identify the needs and expectations of all your relevant interested parties. And then to validate those needs, some of you did focus group discussions or surveys to validate is this what really they need? Do they want timely provision of their service? Do they want excellent service provision? Do they want cost-effective? So it all revolves around the 3 QCT with regards to the end state. And then the approach for lean is learning by doing approach. What you learn in this short discussion right now, you need to apply it to your respective processes. That is the end goal. That is my hope, that after an hour, you will be able to start these initiatives and then learn it by doing, by experimenting. And then for sure, there are so many benefits that will come out of it. And of course, there are a lot of tools that are available for lean. I will discuss some of them, but I will focus on a few ones so that you can already start your implementing lean in your respective offices. Let me tell you a brief history of lean. Where did it originate? As mentioned in the previous slide, it started in the Toyota production system. In 1894, as you can see here, Sakichi Toyoda, a tinker inventor, begins making manual looms, a garment. So if it's in the garment industry, what's the raw material for garments? Thread. Sakichi Toyoda, in 1926, he opens the Toyota Automatic Loom Works. So automation was already present in the early 1900s. And then in 1937, the nephew of Sakichi Toyoda, who happens to be an engineer, diverted the business. So from loom, he opened Toyota Motor Company. And then because the manufacturing of cars where GM, General Motors, was producing millions of cars already, they are only producing or exporting 11,000. So millions compared to a few thousands, 11,000. So what did it do? In 1945, he went to the US and already did what we call benchmarking. He visited the very famous General Motors and other US car manufacturing companies. And in 1948, he did not see the immediate benefits of his benchmarking because Toyota's debt ballooned to 8 times its capital value. So if some probably would have stopped their business already, or in our case, probably we cannot see the immediate benefits of implementing an initiative, we will already give up. But Kiichiro Toyoda did not stop there. He still continued and did another benchmarking. So what went wrong? If your knowledge is not sufficient, don't give up And then from there, he included Ford. I'm sure that is a more popular car manufacturing firm for you, the Ford. We have a lot of Ford here also in Baguio. We have a car showroom here along Marquez Highway. But anyway, he surpassed production of Ford. So right now, Toyota is number one in terms of production. So the question is, Charlie, but this is manufacturing company. What can we learn from them? Or why should we learn from this company? If you look at these facts, in year 2000, the goal is to get 10% market share. And in 2015, the goal of 15%, which is the largest market share in the world, because there are so many car manufacturers. After applying the very simple principle of lean, they got the largest market share in cars in the whole world. They became the most consistent in profitability, in terms of profitability. In 2002 alone, look at the profit here. From 10 billion to 125 billion. Well, that should not be our objective here because we are not a manufacturing firm. We are in the government sector. It's not for profit company. However, we need to sustain also. That's the term there. For sustenance, there are so many roads to maintain. There are so many infrastructure that needs to be put up by the government. Where do we get the funds? Probably this could help. They also were consistently awarded winning quality levels. So in our case, right now, we have Philippine Quality Award. We have ISO 9000 and other awards with regards to quality. If you can learn from the world's best, why not? Applying the principle of tried and tested. We go for the tried and tested principle. That's what I'm saying. What are the principles of the Toyota's 4Ps? If you look at this triangle, this pyramid, at the top is what we call problem solving. But let me focus on one thing here, which is what we call the Genshi Genbutsu. So is this something new? Actually, it's not. No, look at the second bullet. It says here, go see for yourself to thoroughly understand the situation. Sometimes we are just sitting in our own offices that we do not see, we do not know what is happening in the ground floor, okay, in the manufacturing area or in the service area where our core services are. So the counterpart of this in planning is what we call management by walking around. So even if you are the division head, even if you are the division chief, there is no action in your office. The action is in the floor, in the front lines. So if there are some problems, for you to be able to understand your people better, for you to be able to understand the processes better, my suggestion is practice Genshi Genbutsu or management by walking around. You need to understand if your people are overburdened. You need to understand if your people are stressed, overworked. But the only way for you to understand is you look at what's happening on the floor. So you practice Genshi Genbutsu. That's why sometimes if you visit manufacturing plants owned by the Japanese, they are not in the air-conditioned offices. They have work tables right there in the production floor. That is the ideal practice. That's why when I was in the manufacturing plant, they gave me an office also. My last manufacturing job here in Baguio, in Peza. They gave me an office, but I said, please give me a table where the production is because I was the production manager. So I can see what's happening, where the action is, there in the production area. That's where you see the problems. That's where you get to talk to your people and understand their concerns so that immediately you can give solutions to the problems. The second very good principle here, which is under Kaizen, is what we call respect and teamwork. Respect and teamwork for what, Charlie? For people and your partners. The focus here are your employees. Employees, let's listen to them. You call it the VOE or voice of the employee. Is it important? Yes, it's very important. It says here, you grow leaders who live the philosophy of lean. You support them, what they want, because they are the ones who will deliver for you. You respect, you develop, and challenge your people and your teams. So not only respect, but develop them professionally. You provide the means for their development. The only common concern, I have assisted a lot of LGUs and other government offices, but the most common concern that I see, this is funny because a lot of them do not have the opportunity to go for training. The budget for people development is very minimal, that some of them do not really get the chance to learn. Learning is not free. Sometimes there is investment. To learn from the best, you need to invest also. If you look at the balanced scorecard system in strategic management, one of the most important perspective there to be able to achieve all our goals, which is to satisfy our customers. But if you look at the balanced scorecard perspective, the base is learning and growth perspective. The processes, even if you automate the processes are good, but it's gonna be useless. We need to invest in our people. That is very, very important. Respect and challenge and help also your suppliers. No, I am not referring to challenging your suppliers to become ISO certified also. But if you have the knowledge, you have to help them out. You have to help them grow. Whatever knowledge you have, you should be able to share it also with your suppliers, because you will be using their inputs into your system. You don't want them to be delayed in shipping the raw materials that you will be needing, the supplies if you are in the service industry. So you need to grow them, your people. Listen to your suppliers, listen to your people, because they are the ones who are transacting with the public. The focus of Lean is the process. What do we do here, Charlie? We need to eliminate the waste. But how can you eliminate the waste if you don't know how to identify them? You need to create the process flow to surface the problem. How are we going to do that? You create your flow charts, and most importantly, your value stream map. No? Later on, I will discuss with you what are the different tools available for us to be able to eliminate the waste. For example, yung value stream map na yon. Paano ba ginagawa yon, Charlie? So there are steps, no, on how to do that. You make your high-level SIPOC, you make your swim lane charts, process flow charts, spaghetti diagram, no, that you can explore to help you surface all of these problems, the processes. We have discussed that also in ISO 9000. You need to practice this philosophy, the long-term thinking. Do not look for immediate results. You learn Lean today and tomorrow there are already fruits. But if you practice this on a daily basis, you will notice that you will be improving. Not just incremental improvements, but leap bounds if only you will practice this religiously. We are not seeing the benefits. Yes, because my question is, how long have you been doing that? The benefits will come in the future. Don't say you practice it today and tomorrow you will be reaping the benefits. You can get some quick wins, but the large benefits of this will come in the next 3 years, the next 5 years down the road. Researchers or people in the academe are fond of coming up with a framework to follow. Sometimes when I was in the manufacturing industry, most of the engineers there, they know how to do it, but they go to me because they forgot when they were students. Yes, there is. No, there is a framework that you need to follow whenever you apply a principle. There's the roof, there is the base, there are the two pillars, and at the center is very important. In everything that we are doing, total quality management, ISO 9000, Lean. So look at this. At the top is ultimately the bottom line is we want customer satisfaction. That's what we are here for. Why did they put up our service? Why did they open that unit or office? Because there is a need for that. There is a clamor from the citizens or the clients. We want to put up a business, but we need to comply with the requirement. You need business permit before you can operate a business. So, is there an office in the LGU that caters to that? None. Okay, let's create the Business Permits and Licensing Division or office. Charlie, I need to put up a house, but they said I cannot construct it. You need to have a building permit. So they created the City Engineering Office, or we call it CBAO, City Building Permit Section or Office. If you look at the most important is the foundation. We need stability and standardization. Look at that. If there is no standardization, they have the different methods of doing things. No, we do not like that. We want standardization. But what are the tools that we can use for standardization? Look at this, four very simple tools, 5S. Where do we see that in our ISO, Charlie? You look at clause 7.1.4, the physical environment. Your physical environment talks about hygiene, airflow, lighting, etc. That is actually 5S. You need to go back to the basics. That is one specific clause there. Like I said, that's 7.1.4C. It's a requirement. However, ISO did not call it 5S. It's up to you to research on what specific tool can we use to address the concern or the requirement of ISO on the physical environment. Most of you are beneficiaries of the Development Academy of the Philippines. We will have a short discussion on 5S later on. In the LGUs that I am assisting right now, they have actually formed 5S committee. Very good po yan. You invest time in that. It will really, really be of great help. Libre na yung provide ng DAP. If you get outside consultants to help you out in 5S, that is very costly. But of course, investment, like I said, and you will reap the investment. So what are the other tools, Charlie, that we need to use for stability and standardization? TPM, or Total Preventive Maintenance. That is actually the clause before 5S. Clause 7.1.3b talks about your equipment. Are they ready for use? Are they properly maintained? Are they properly calibrated? Anytime that you use them, they are ready. They are properly maintained. They are calibrated. So many people are complaining about the uptime of the internet. Are we doing preventive maintenance, regular maintenance? Do you have a maintenance schedule for all the kinds of equipment that you use for stability? And then we have here what you call standard operations. Standard operations, because if you have people and they don't know what they're doing, are these written? Hindi pwedeng, it's not possible that, sir, I have already memorized the step. What if you're absent? Who will take your place? No, that is why clause 4.4 also of the ISO requires you to document your standard operating procedures. It's not only ISO. Look at the foundation of lean management, standard operations. That's what you do in clause 4.4. Very tedious, but I tell you what, the time that you invest in creating your procedures is worth it. Okay? That's transfer of knowledge later on. Eventually, no, we are not permanent where we are. When we leave because we are transferred to another section, or you get promoted, unless you want to stay where you are until you retire. Of course, you have dreams of getting promoted also. So you don't need to train other people. They just look at your SOPs and there you have it. It will be less training on your part. And of course, there is the Japanese term Kaizen for continual improvement. So aside from, that's double-edged sword, win-win. You are practicing lean and at the same time, you are complying to an ISO requirement. Please do not forget, for stability and standardization, you need to practice 5S, TPM, And then you need to document your processes, clause 4.4, and practice Kaizen or continual improvement. Sometimes we are so immersed in our operations that we forget what's happening. So it's good sometimes to look back so you can see the entire forest and have a good look on what's happening in the entire operations. So let us now discuss the pillars. Let's start with just in time. Pull flow. That has something to do with another Japanese term that we call the Kanban system. Because sometimes if you don't practice the pull system, that's why we call it pull, that could result into overproduction. And overproduction could result to another waste. The other waste is what we call inventory. Pull flow, for example. How do you purchase your office supplies? Coupon ban, ball pen, ink for printers, etc. Do you purchase by bulk? If you do, you need to apply pull flow. Why? Because sometimes try to come up with the solution. What we did in our company before, we partnered with a local supplies store. And then if we need it, we practice just in time. And just in time, when we need it, they will deliver. So there, pull flow. That is one very concrete example. And then you can convert that into a more productive space. What about, Charlie, the talk time? It has something to do with the bit. And then, what is your available working hours? So in a day, we have 480, but individually, according to DOLE or civil service, you are entitled to a 15-minute break in the morning and another 15-minute break in the afternoon. So each individual has 450 available minutes to serve their clients. But since we said no noon break, we do proper scheduling so that we can serve the daily demand. Because lean started in Japan, Hejunka is another term for mura, M-U-R-A. Because if you don't practice the eliminating 5S, it could result to Hejunka or mura, workload that is not balanced. If you try to look at some of your offices, is this present? You try to look at in your offices, you will see people who are truly busy and people who are kind of busy but not really busy. Maybe there is a junka. There is workload that is not balanced. And if that happens, it could result to another Japanese term. We call it muri because of the workload that is not balanced or overworked. I know this is happening in a lot of offices. You need to identify where does muri exist, M-U-R-I. It causes a lot of stress on our minds, psychologically. So you need to find all of those. The cell design. If I apply for a business permit, do I have to go from one building to the other? So traditionally, we experience that. However, in the government, I'm so happy that they have invented the one-stop shop. That's your solution to the cell design. But they have eliminated unnecessary transportation. So very good. SMED, single-minute exchange of dice. This will not be applicable for us in the public sector. Unless you have equipments, you are into, well, some government sectors are also into production. There is another, Jidoka. It talks about automation. I know a lot of government agencies right now is into Jidoka. They are automating all the services, online submission, online application, etc. However, there is a caution here. Before you do automation, did you fix your process? You are just, or you are simply automating a process that was not leaned out, including the non-value adding steps. You are just automating, including the non-value adding steps. So my suggestion is there are 4 steps in implementing Jidoka. The first thing is you identify abnormality in the process. When I say abnormality in the process, like the business permit that I was saying, you go to the business permits and licensing office, but that's just step 1 and the last step. But in between, so first, before you automate, before you apply Jidoka, number one, you stop and identify where bottleneck exists. You need to identify that. And if you have leaned out your process, if you have identified the bottleneck, you stop. No, you stop what you are doing. So what are we going to do, Charlie, after we stop? You fix the problem. Gather your team. Do some brainstorming, or what we call Kaizen Blitz. Do brainstorming with your team. It is important that you include all the process owners when you do Kaizen Blitz or brainstorming. They know what's happening. So include them, because the problem will come from them, and then you can extract the solution from them. So you stop, you fix the problem, investigate the problem, and then after doing that, you do root cause analysis. You do the RCA, or what we call root cause analysis. And the fourth step, after identifying the root cause of the problem using your 5Y analysis, you will now do what you call Pokayoke. Ayan po, Pokayoke is foolproof mechanism. So you now prevent the problem from happening. That is another Japanese term. It's foolproofing. Are you familiar with the toy? When I was a child, there is this toy, round, red, and yellow, and there are shapes: star, circle, square, oblong, rectangle. And then you bring out those pieces, and then you will insert it. If it's circle and then triangle, that is what an example of Pokayoke. So we do that in all our processes. These are controls to prevent mistakes. So andon sign stops. Automatically, the process stops if they need help. Have you gone to the grocery? I am not promoting SM or any other grocery, but just for example, I see in SM manual andon. I see the cashier, they are holding the red and blue ping pong racket or tennis racket. They will raise that. That means they will stop from cashiering, and then the supervisor will see that automatically on her screen. That is the principle of andon. Bulk, I think that starts January to March or even April. If we have so many clients, thousands of them in the city hall applying for a business permit, the supervisor is monitoring. So that if one person, I know you are not yet doing this because I have personally not experienced it yet. If one needs help, maybe you try to andon sign red, for stop cashier na yan because he needs help, you need to fix it. Well, there are other methods I'm sure that you are doing right now. They don't know what to do, they need help. You call that andon. And of course, this baseline will be useless, including the pillars will be useless if at the middle there is, this one is very important, the voice of the employee, respect for people. You do team building. One thing I noticed is we still have the silo mentality. Silo mentality meaning is yung process in the business permits office. After that, when they get out of our office, they go to planning office, they go to fire department, they go to the cashier or treasurer's office. We don't know and we don't care what's happening there already. So that is what we call siloed mentality. Silo, S-I-L-O. That's not good. The worst case that could happen is within your office as an employee is your own process. That's why you are the process owner. But after that, you don't care and you don't know the processes of your colleagues within your office. That is the worst thing that could happen. So what do I suggest? Yung swim lane chart. So that you will understand from your process, it will go to the other processes. Try to understand what is also happening in the other processes. So that when your customer asks, you don't say, I don't care or I don't know, please ask that person. That is not good. You should know the processes there. Eh, Charlie, ito lang naman yung nasa JD namin. That is why, look at the next one. There, the focus is cross-training. It's not because in your JD, this is what you only do. If there are HR representatives here who belong to the L&D of the HR department, please do cross-training. We do cross-training. That is empowering actually your people. That is so beneficial, number one, to the company, to the LGU, for the government as a whole. If you need manpower complement in another office, they can help as manpower complement. If they cannot see the benefit, they will not be available for training. They will have so many excuses. No, that's not true at all. You tell them, if you know this process, you know that it makes you indispensable. Well, you know other functions within the organization. You can be transferred anywhere. It is win-win for you because you are learning new skills. Because of that, you can be transferred anywhere without the fear. So if that is how you explain it to them, you are empowering them by making them very marketable. Well, the Hoshin is strategic management term. Direction. You give your people direction. You explain to them, what are we doing? If we do all this, there will be customer satisfaction. But I know customer satisfaction survey form, so that you will know. That means they are satisfied. But the CSS says customer satisfaction survey. So what's the level of satisfaction that our customers get from us? We are interested to know. Are you outstanding? Are they very satisfied? Are they satisfied only? Or they are not satisfied or unsatisfied at all? That's why we wanted to know. This is the foundation of lean. Muda, the waste. But I will discuss this in the next slide. But I mentioned this already, the Jidoka or Mura, unevenness. Look for this. Some people are really busy, some are not. So you need to have a load board for one whole week. So you need to have a load board to ensure everybody all the work in the office is fairly distributed. Why? If you cannot see that, visibility is the key. Visibility. If you don't see it, you will not notice it. Why am I emphasizing this? Because it could result to muri, work that creates burden for the team members, especially if your people are what we call shy mangu in the Cordillera. They don't know how to complain, intimidated to voice out their concern to their immediate supervisor. They cannot complain. And this could result to that. Overburdened. If they are overburdened, are they productive? Well, they are productive, but are they effective? What about the quality of their output? It could suffer. But going back, this is what we are so interested in. There are 8 wastes in any kind of office. I'm telling you, service or manufacturing, public or private, the government sector. Do we see all of this? Let us discuss this in detail one by one and tell me later on in the Q&A, unless there are some icons there where you can throw in your questions. 8 wastes. If you can identify all of this, you can stop learning all the other principles. I'm telling you, start with this and then all the variations on Six Sigma will follow. LSS, we call it Lean Six Sigma. It didn't say Six Sigma first before Lean. Before you look at variations, Lean principle. We discuss defects. Do you see defects in your production? What is a defect, Charlie? Anything that does not meet customer specification. First, you identified who are your interested parties, relevant interested parties. So anything you knew what they wanted. You knew their expectations. You validated it through focus group discussions, FGDs. So now it's time for you to check in our processes because those are the specifications of our customers. Normally, QCT. And over and above QCT, quality, timeliness, and cost-effective. They look at environment-friendly, something like that. And other examples of defects, incorrect date, coded, incorrect lot traveler, incorrect stamp. Everything that is wrong is what you call defect. So please stop what you're doing for a while. Identify if this is existing. It's a numbers game. Don't say, if I ask you, how many defects per year, per month, You need to identify, you need to do measure, baselining of operation, because what cannot be measured cannot be improved. Yield, we call it FTY in Lean Six Sigma, first time yield, for continual improvement purposes. Second, overproduction, producing something in more quantity or better sooner than required by the customer. For example, sometimes we create so many brochures, but they don't even need it. So you email only to concerned offices. As much as possible, email is allowed practice in your office. Next is waiting. Nobody wants to wait. You place yourself in the shoes of your clients. They don't like to be standing there waiting for 1 hour, 2 hours. Waiting, any delay throughout the value stream. In Finland, zero waiting time, including in hospitals, outpatient at least. If they can do it abroad in Finland, there's zero. They call you when it's your time. I think it's possible. It's just our culture. And then we have here non-utilization of skills, not using employees' full intellectual contribution is an example. Supervisors, they're doing administrative tasks, but forget about the money. What's more important is your intellectual contribution to your office. That is a perfect example of not utilizing the people's skills. Kindly do a workforce profile. What are these people good at? Respect for people. You capacitate them. You use their intellectual ability in where they are good at. They're enjoying. Transportation, one-stop shop to minimize distance traveled. They have what you call the relationship diagram. A, E, O, U. They have A for very significant relationship ng bawat office. And then you can minimize the distance traveled by the transacting public. Relay out. We call it process flow diagram or spaghetti diagram. And then inventory. That's what I'm saying. Instead of buying so many supplies that could be subject to obsolescence, you contract suppliers who are willing to partner with you. We don't like inventory. And then extra motion. I think I have explained this before. When we say extra motion, it should be part of what you are doing. For example, walking to copier, but more of a motion. But if I need to walk just to get the printed item, that's what you call extra motion. Your racks should be designed in such a way that it should be within your reach. Extra processing, too many signatories. Ease of doing business act is very good. Why? Maximum dapat 3. Prepared by, reviewed by, approved by. Maximum of 3. In summary, you don't have to memorize 8. If you will notice, the first letters of the 8 muda that I have discussed, D for defects, O for overproduction, W for waiting, N for non-utilization of skills, and then T for transportation, I for inventory, M for motion, E for extra processing, downtime. After identifying all of them, you look for solutions. You have your 8 ways check sheet. I'm leaving this to you. You can look at this. Downtime, defect, overproduction, waiting. Here are examples, and you can use this for office or area. BPLD, City Engineering Office, MSWD or CSWD, and then date. You can do that 5S assessment, but I suggest you start with 5S and then you go lean. And then quick changeover, TPM, just in time, Jidoka, people, post may lean assessment, very detailed lean assessment, because it should be a numbers game. I repeat, if you cannot measure, you cannot improve. These are my recommendations. Number 1, perform 8 ways analysis. Perform the 8 ways analysis. After you do that, second, create your value stream map. That means you need to document the entire process flow from start to finish, end-to-end process. Third, you do root cause analysis. For all the wastes that you have identified, you do root cause analysis. If you have the VSM, you will use that for your Kaizen Blitz. Do not do this alone. You do it with other people. We do it with the process owners. Finally, you formulate solutions and prioritization of the project. Apply the lean principle of prove and grow. And then you apply the principle in one pilot office. And then look at the benefits before you grow it. Before you roll out to the entire LGU, to the entire office, to the entire agency, and then learn from there. After you learn from there, agency-wide rollout. The time says it's already, but I think I have already discussed everything that I wanted to share with you, and they will be sharing with you the material. So if you have questions, pwede pong tanungin lang natin sa ating mga taga-friends in the AP. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Engineer Charlie, for that wonderful lecture. Now we move on to the Q&A session. As mentioned, the team has been curating questions from the chat box, and we have chosen a few to be answered live. So now our first question comes from Leo Jesus Lacaba. He is asking, is the Citizens Charter an example of the clear view of end state? That is the question, sir.
It is an example of a clear state. However, did you do a scientific study of the timeliness that are posted in your Citizens Charter or ARTA? Or at least historical data, time started, time end, or is that just a perception? Yes, if you conducted an actual time and motion study. If not, we need to do that.
Thank you very much, Sir Charlie, for that answer. And we have another question from Jenison Ganolon. He is asking, which is better, Toyota or Isuzu, in terms of strategies and SWOT?
Sorry, that is out of the scope. But of course, Lean was introduced by Toyota. So I go for Toyota. Honestly, I didn't try to read on about the practices of Isuzu. If Isuzu copied the principle from Toyota, then that's good.
All right, thank you again. So we have another question from Josefina Lakay, and she is asking, how about those suppliers who are not ISO certified, but they are claiming they are the sole exclusive distributors and suppliers? How can we require them to engage and be an ISO certified organization? So I think they are transacting with such suppliers that are not accredited or certified in the ISO standards.
So there is what we call supplier evaluation. Required po ng ISO yan. However, you can required sa ISO that you need to evaluate your suppliers on two things. Number one, for selection purposes, what happens? They perform the delivery of the service that they were contracted for. Post-delivery evaluation, after sales service, quality ng service or product that they have delivered, and then you come up with the evaluation. You need to share that to your suppliers. Lean principle at the middle is respect for people, including suppliers. You need to share the results of the evaluation so that they can grow also like you. So the question is it mandatory that they have to be certified? It can be requirement for selection. I know an LGU, all their contractors, construction contractors, part of the bidding process is that they must be certified to ISO. So if you can do that, no choice, they will get certification. And part of the requirements that they will submit is the certificate that they got from a certifying body. But you can do supplier audits. You call that second party audit based on your criteria as an LGU or a government agency.
All right. Thank you, Sir Charlie, again for your answer. And another question from Ms. Josefina Lakay. And this is her opinion. Republic Act 9184 or the Government Procurement Reform Act sometimes hinders the ease of doing business and affects the length of processes. So that's her opinion. Could this be improved? So that is more or less the clash that is happening with processes in the procurement of products and services in government agencies. So can this be improved, sir? Do you think, in your opinion?
Yes, of course. Like I said, did you do value stream mapping? So even if it's already an act, if you try to measure, you need some solid proof to show the government that, sir, however, I think based on study, you need to do a concrete study and prove to them na ito yung ideal state, pero yung timeline because of the procurement law, ito po yung nagdi-delay. You listen to what we call voice of the process. You look at the process, voice of the employee, and voice of the business. If all of these three people, interested parties, are complaining, siguro they will listen to it and probably amend it. Clause 10.3, continual improvement at may word na kaizen. So if you're asking me, do you think it will be improved? As an industrial engineer, ang motto namin, there is always a better way, kaizen. So definitely yes.
All right. Thank you again, Sir Charlie. Another question from Andrew de Los Angeles, a bit philosophical. Aside from the lean management of Toyota as a successful organization, Japanese diligence played a crucial role or contribution to them. How do you think we integrate such values in the public sector, which is not existing for profit or economic development? So very philosophical po yun.
Yeah. I agree. It pains me when I talk to some people and then say, bakit delayed? Siyempre, government yan eh. So, look at the notion of the people. Very, very bad perception on the performance of the government. I have to admit, I was once like that. I just subscribed to that idea na, oo nga, kasi gobyerno mabagal. But that's not true. We can start on our own. ISO Clause na 4.1, identifying the issues, very good po yun. Look at the internal issues. It talks about the values of the people. So we start on our own. We work on the things that we can only control. Ano ba at sino yung pwede i-control? Sarili nyo lang. You cannot change people. You can only change yourselves. So you start there, no? You start from yourselves, within yourselves, transform yourself to become a better public servant, and then walk the talk and show leadership by example. Siguro mahihiya yung katabi mo, i-duplicate niya kung ano yung ginagawa mo, and then we can change the ingrained culture. Yun po yung maganda sa ISO natin na yun. They try to identify the internal issues, values.
All right, sir. So we move on to another question from Cornelio Jr. Guantero. And this is a very controversial question for this topic. Many government offices are now ISO certified. So is there such a thing as productivity washing under ISO 9001? In the same manner, there is greenwashing under ISO 14001. If so, how can we prevent it under ISO?
Yes. That's why dyan nalalabas yung galing ng mga internal at saka external auditors. The internal and external auditors, especially external auditors certified like me, no, we are trained to check if it is surface level. Kaya nga pag nag-audit ka, pag meron na kami niyan, yes sir, I believe you, but I need an objective evidence. So, evidence-based po tayo. Meron ding tayong tinatawag na triangulation. Kapag sinabi ng isang tao, you don't say, yes, very good, okay, I believe you. You still triangulate it. Pag sinabing may training kami, yung employee, I go to the HR and double check. At kapag sinabi ng HR, tama, I go to the budget office and check if they are allocated budget for training. After that, I go to the treasurer or accounting to double check again kung meron ngang nare-release na pondo. So you call that audit trailing. Kailangan masipag yung auditor. He should be a trained auditor to do what you call audit trailing. No, wag yung maniwala kasi sinabi ng isang tao, okay na yon. No. We were trained to do audit trailing. Maraming paraan. You observe the person doing it, the process owner. You cross-check it with other people. And it should be consistent all throughout. Yun po, sir. So it's possible.
I think that's very well said and you answered it perfectly. And last, for the question and answer portion, we have Mr. Oscar Sikat asking, are there cases where the process is perfect but the services or products remain substandard?
No. I don't believe that. What comes out from a good tree comes a good fruit. So kung perfect yung process mo, where the people are involved, of course, you cannot have a perfect process without the involvement of the process owners. Siyempre, it goes with it, no? When I say process lang yung ino-audit natin, kasama yung machine, yung method, yung tao, the 4 M's, or sometimes we extend it to 6 M's. Manpower, method, machine. So hindi po dapat magiging substandard yung process. If you say substandard yung output, then I don't believe that the process is perfect already. May mali somewhere.
All right. So unfortunately, that's the only time that we have this afternoon. Thank you very much, Sir Charlie, for taking time and discussing lean management to improve public sector productivity. And for our participants, don't forget to accomplish the evaluation form in the chat box. So we will flash the link. Only those who will submit and watch the 3 webinar episodes will be qualified to receive the unified certificate. So on behalf of the Academy, I would like to thank everyone for watching, and we hope that you learned a lot on today's session, and we hope to see you again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Philippine Standard Time, for our next topic, improving public sector productivity through total quality management and business excellence. Only here at the Public Sector Productivity Webinar. So good afternoon, and thank you everyone. Thank you, Sir Charlie.